today. I'm aware. She's at Rotary, so.
Okay, guys.
Yes.
Got it, let's do it.
Meeting number 22 is now called to order. This is November 19th, 2018. It is 5:30 p.m. We are in the Thomas J. Smith Council Chambers. Would you all please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Kathleen, roll call, please.
Graham Murray. Here. McCampbell.
Here.
Rinker. Wilson.
Here.
Wilson. Phillips.
Here.
All right. We're going to roll downhill tonight like a bowling ball after an ice storm down Division Street. Thanks for asking. Okay, first we have a proclamation for Giving Tuesday. Counselor.
Yes, sir. Your Honor, I have a proclamation for Giving Tuesday, and the proclamation reads, whereas Giving Tuesday was established as a national day of giving on Tuesday following Thanksgiving, and whereas Giving Tuesday is a celebration of philanthropy and volunteerism, thank you, wherever people give and whatever they are able to give, and whereas Giving Tuesday is a day where citizens work together to share commitments, rally for favorite causes, build a stronger community, and think about other people, and whereas it is fitting and proper on Giving Tuesday and on every day to recognize the tremendous impact of philanthropy, volunteerism, and community service in the city of Burlington, and whereas Giving Tuesday is an opportunity to encourage citizens to serve others throughout this holiday season and during other times of the year. And now, therefore, we, the City Council of Burlington, Iowa, do hereby proclaim November 27th, 2018 as Giving Tuesday in the city of Burlington, Iowa, and encourage all citizens to join together to give back to the community in any way that is personally meaningful. Signed and sealed this 19th day of November 2018, Shane A. McCampbell, Mayor.
Al Giamatino.
Oh, I got one. Shane, I'll get a picture.
Val Giamatino.
Ready? I'm ready. You ready?
Act like you actually want to stand by me, all right?
There you go.
Thank you for coming down. Would you please have a word, Val?
Is this on? All
Yes,
right.
it is.
I had no prepared comments, so I sent Shane an email suggesting that we do this as a city, and then now here I am. So I did highlight some things very quickly, but I just want to first say thank you for recognizing Giving Tuesday and letting me come and speak to all of you. And thank you for all of the time that you all put in to help the city of Burlington. And I recognize that new council member right there. All right. So Giving Tuesday started a few years back in New York, and it was an opportunity for communities and people to get together and try to champion a day of giving after a couple big days of buying and trying to launch the opening day of giving season and around the holidays and Christmas, and to recognize what Christmas is all about. So I guess I'm now the unofficial ambassador for Giving Tuesday for Burlington, and I'm grateful for that, and I will accept that honor with pleasure. Everyone has something to give. You can give your time, expertise, monetary donations, large or small, and simple acts of kindness, food, clothing. All of these things are gifts. Giving Tuesday is a global day of giving that harnesses the collective power of individuals, communities, and organizations to encourage philanthropy and to celebrate generosity worldwide. It was established, like I said, by these gentlemen in New York to harness the collective power of a unique blend of partners to transform how people talk about, participate in the giving season, inspire people to take collective action to improve their communities, what I feel you all are doing, give back in better, smarter ways to charities and causes they believe in, and to help create a better world. Greater giving demonstrates how every act of generosity counts, and that they mean even more when they are given together. So when I look around this room, Dana, everybody in this room has causes that are near and dear to their heart, And that is what this day is about. So thank you for letting us recognize it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Val, thank you for coming down.
And thanks for heading that up.
All right, we have 2 tenure awards tonight.
I'm excited to offer this certificate of recognition for 30 years of service
Wow.
to the city of Burlington, and the 30 years started on a wonderful day, my birthday, October 17th. So put your hands together for Lois Blythe, 30 years of recognition.
Thank you. Bring it in. God bless you, honey. You guys getting in on this?
Oh, of course.
Counselor, come on, good counselor, get in on this.
I guess I'll do the selfie.
Yeah, no, you do. Where's little counselor? You can stand up, you're short enough. Congratulations. Would you please have a word?
Shoes are untied. The shoes are untied.
Tie those shoes, Mayor.
It has been a pleasure and a blessing to serve the community of Burlington. When I came here in 1988 with my 2 small children, I was embraced by this community. And I have never regretted moving here. And so I'm kind of beyond, I can't believe it's been 30 years for one. I was just a baby when I came here. But I had met my future husband here, and we had another child together, and so, and I've been involved in as many things as I can, because as my father always said, that you should always give back to the community that you live in, because they give you so much. So thank you.
Very well said.
Thank you.
Those are the type of employees we've got down here. God bless you, honey. She's just a babe. All right. We have one more certificate of recognition, and I'm glad to be giving this one out tonight. This one is to the Mountain Man, and he's got 40 years of service. And this means a lot to me because he started on my birthday. No, he didn't. I just wanted to say that. But 40 years is a long time, and you'd never guess that this guy's not tired yet. And I'm glad to be giving this to you tonight, my friend. Certificate of recognition and grateful recognition of 40 years of dedicated service to the city of Burlington. As of November 7, 2018, we hereby present Braden the Mountain Man Hill with this certificate of recognition. Shane A. McCampbell, Mayor, come on down. I see you brought the good looking one with you. What's up, Mama? Man, we appreciate you, Mountain Man. Everybody's gonna wanna get into some of this action, so everybody, little counselor. Thank you, Mountain Man. Have a word, my friend. Thank you. I do not bring that, man. Change is not good enough.
I also don't have anything prepared. Just to let you know, though, that I am very proud to have been an employee, to be an employee for 40 years. I do believe that pride is something that is important for the city of Burlington and its employees all across the board. And just to close, you'll be happy to know that this will be the only 40-year award that I'll be receiving from the city. I, once again, thank you very much for treating me as well as you have for 40 years. Thank you.
All right. right, that's just to keep the excitement going. We have another award tonight. This first one is to, and I don't have her, I'm supposed to have her essay that she wrote. I don't have it, but every year they have an essay, and it's, if I was the mayor for the day, for a day, what would I do? And I'll tell you what, there was one that really stood out this year. It was phenomenal, and obviously, it's this little joker that's sitting right next to me that won it. And I just want to tell you that I thought it was phenomenal. It was excellently written, and I plagiarized a few things from you. So I'm looking forward to using your lines in my next mayor speech. Appreciate it. Glad to have you down with us tonight. Be it known, on behalf of the city of Burlington, Iowa, I would like to thank you for being a model Burlingtonian. You are an example to your classmates and your peers in the entire state of Iowa. Your "If I Were Mayor" essay was well thought out, and I'm going to steal a few ideas. Thank you for making Burlington a great place to live, work, and play. On November 19, 2018, this Mayor's Award is presented to Jenna Knutson. And can I give you one of these too? Yeah, definitely. Let's all get some of this action. Mayor, you're gonna let me keep my job for the rest of the night, right? That's all good. There you go. Wait, get in on that. Mayor, would you please have a word, thank you, and whatnot, and all that good stuff? Thank you, Mayor.
Getting a workout.
No pressure, Mayor, no pressure.
I don't know. Thank you for letting me participate in this, and
Just read this back here. Just read that.
City of Burlington, a great place to live, work, and play.
There you go.
Sounds like a
Says it all.
true mayor to me. All right, well done. This next one, I'm tickled that we get to give these out, and every once in a while, somebody just stands out that I have never even had the opportunity to meet. And this is one lady that I'm meeting, I believe, for the first time. And you look familiar, like I've seen you somewhere before. But I've heard so much about you, I feel like I already know you. And it's interesting that it would even be Giving Day that we declared, because that's why you're down here, because you gave freely without expecting anything back in return. They call that agape love, when you give something to somebody and you love on somebody with no expectation of anything in return. That's admirable, and we need more people like you in Burlington, so I hope you don't leave. Be it known, on behalf of the city of Burlington, Iowa, I would like to thank you for being a model transplant Burlingtonian. Your sweet and kind heart is what the world needs more of, and what we can proudly say we have right here in the city of Burlington. You're amazing. You help make Burlington a great place to live, work, and play. On November 19, 2018, this Mayor's Award is presented to Michelle Nicander. Would you please come up? I gotta get a picture taken.
Yeah, I got it.
Somebody's gonna think I'm cool. Okay. So much. Well, you know, they'll say, get back closer. We good? Give me a hug, lady. Come here, bring it in. Would you please have a word?
There's only so much that can be.
I know.
Yeah.
You got that right.
I'd like to thank you all for this presentation and award. I don't know that this is really deserving, because it was just the right thing to do for her, so. But I do a lot of volunteering with Hedda Gilbert and things in the community, so, and I realize how important that is for Burlington, so, and I'm honored to have this. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Counselor.
Do you want to do this one since it's the first, or do you want me to do it?
No, go ahead, man. Break ice.
Be my pleasure.
Thanks for coming down, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I have an award this evening. You're exemplifying outstanding service. You have gone above and beyond the call of duty on many occasions, and for this we recognize you. You are admirable and courageous in the City Council and the City of Burlington, and I personally want to thank you. This is an extraordinary people do extraordinary things, and you are extraordinary. On November 5th, 2018, this mayor's first Extraordinary Service Award is presented to Ryan Gorley.
The very first. Come on down, Counselor, come on. That's right. You set a new standard, my friend.
First for snow.
Dude, you're a rock star, man. We're blessed to have you, bro. You guys getting in on this?
Oh, well, yeah, yeah.
Supposed to?
Dude, this is a first. He's extraordinary.
Thanks.
There you go. Sir.
Not my favorite thing in the world, but. So Mayor, council members, thank you very much. I thought about putting a 10-minute speech together, but that's just not me.
We love you.
Thank you, thank you. I just want to say thank you, thank the residents of Burlington, and thank my fellow employees for the opportunity to have this job. I just love this job, so just a great thing. And just thank you very much. Thank you for the recognition.
Thank you.
Yep, it shows in your work, sir.
All right.
Good job.
And that's why he was receiving it. That's why he was receiving that award. It was extraordinary service, and that needs to be recognized. We definitely appreciate that. Okay, next up, yes, all of you that want to get on out of here, please do. Stick around for the rest of this stuff.
No worries.
Thanks for coming. All right, next on the agenda is the consent agenda. All matters listed under item 1 consent agenda having been discussed are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of those items. If discussion is desired, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. On the consent tonight, we have the usual, finances and miscellaneous, minutes of previous meetings, payroll and city claims, beer, liquor, wine, and cigarettes, reports, and bonds. We have 10 resolutions. First is a resolution approving nuisance abatements for various properties. The second is a resolution authorizing internal loan from general fund to tax increment revenue fund. The third is a resolution approving annual financial report. The fourth is a resolution approving annual urban renewal report. The fifth is a resolution obligating funds from the Greater Burlington Partnership TIF rebate sub-fund of the city's urban renewal tax revenue fund for appropriation to the payment of annual appropriation tax increment rebate payments due to be paid in the succeeding fiscal year. The sixth is a resolution obligating funds from the Weingard TIF rebate sub-fund of the city's urban renewal tax revenue fund for appropriation to the payment of annual appropriation tax increment rebate payments due to be paid in the succeeding fiscal year. The seventh is a resolution obligating funds from the Burlington Crossing TIF rebate sub-fund of the city's urban renewal tax revenue fund for appropriation to the payment of annual appropriation tax increment rebate payments due to be paid in the succeeding fiscal year. The eighth is a resolution approving maintenance and operation of public infrastructure for Park West subdivision. The ninth is a resolution approving resignation and release agreement between the city of Burlington, Iowa and Alex Place as a Burlington Fire Department firefighter. The 10th is a resolution approving sub-license agreement between the city of Burlington, Zico Systems, Inc., and Huckleberry Hotel, LLC for use by the Renewal Energy Committee, read-only access to the plug-in electric vehicle charging station data derived from Huckleberry's use of the licensed software at their location in Burlington, Iowa. And we have two hearings set for December 3rd. The first is consideration of an application to Iowa Economic Development Authority for the micro enterprise, that was a good one, micro enterprise assistance pilot program. And then the second is consideration of lease agreement between the city of Burlington and Most LLC for use of Dankwart Park Pool. Is there anybody from the audience that would like to have any of these items from the consent removed?
Good evening, Chris Repke, 2228 Madison Avenue. I just have questions on number 3 and number 10. That's the only reason to ask for be removed. Just
Actually, number
questions.
4, if you're after wanting to talk about TIF, I might have not told you which title.
Okay,
That's the annual urban renewal report is
it's,
number 4.
okay. So,
4 and number 10.
10.
3, 4, 10. Just have a couple questions on those.
3, 4, and 10?
Yeah,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
Okay, I get a motion.
Your Honor, I got a motion to approve all listed under item 1 consent agenda with the exception of under resolutions 3, 4, and 10.
Second.
Moved in second. Kathleen?
Graham Murray,
Aye.
McCampbell,
Aye.
Rinker,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
Okay. Now it's time for consideration of a sale of property locally known as 1006 Elm Street, City of Burlington, Iowa, with conditions. We're gonna sell a property and it's gonna make somebody a lovely home. Mr. Tislin?
This is a property we acquired through the abandoned building program, again at 1006 Elm, located between 10th and Central and north of Elm. It is on a very small lot, a single-family home, built in 1858. One-story home, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, 53 by 40-foot lot, 1 story. Does need the general maintenance and upkeep that most of our homes that we acquire in this condition. Junk and items need to be cleaned out. Plumbing and electrical upgrades are required by licensed plumbers, electricians, HVAC upgraded, porches repaired, siding, interior repairs as well. Purchaser must ensure the property receives permits and meets codes for renovation or demolition. If renovated, again, licensed electrician and plumber shall be required to inspect and sign off that such items in the property meet or are brought up to codes. Occupancy of the structure is not allowed until those items are brought up to code, that it is substantially meets our housing code and those items are inspected. Purchaser shall pay a minimum of $500 or 10% down, whichever is greater upon approval, with the entire amount within 30 days. Improvements shall be started within 60 days and completed within 180 days of approval of sale, which may be extended an additional 180 days if progress is being made, with quitclaim deed transferred upon substantial completion of renovation of the home. So again, the purchaser does have to do quite a bit of work before we transfer deed and before anyone can occupy the structure. So currently we have 2 bids, $500 from Patrick Smith and $700 from Esteban Gonzalez.
Okay, we're gonna start this auction out. If there's anybody else that wants to bid on this house that has not, that's name is not Patrick or Esteban, then we're gonna ask you to come to the, what is that, lectern?
Lectern.
Whatever. Have you come to the lectern and give us your name and address and put in your bid, and then you can finish it off just by raising your hand. We'll get down to it, so. Okay. We've got a high bid of $700 from Esteban Gonzalez. Do I have a bid of 800? I've got a bid of 700. Do I have a bid of 8? All right. It's a tough crowd tonight. Man, I thought we were really gonna make some money on this. You guys are killing me over here. We have a bid of 700 going once. A bid of 700 going twice. Sold for $700 to Esteban Gonzalez. I always love that name, man. Esteban. All right.
Got a motion, Your Honor, I have a motion to close.
Second.
Thank you. Kathleen?
Graham Murray,
Aye.
McCampbell,
Aye.
Rinker,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye. Your Honor, I have a resolution approving the sale of the property locally known as 1006 Elm Street, Burlington, Iowa, with conditions.
Second?
Now I do the, okay, sorry, I always get screwed up on that. Your Honor, I have a motion to amend the resolution for the sale of property, stating that we sell the property to Esteban Gonzalez for $700.
Second.
Moved in second. Let's vote, Kathleen,
On the amendment.
on the amendment.
On the amendment.
Graham Murray,
Aye.
McCampbell,
Aye.
Rinker,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
as amended.
Graham Murray,
Aye.
McCampbell,
Aye.
Rinker,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
Sold.
Let me give you one of these, my friend. Tell you what, I may need a place to stay. Esteban. You know what I mean? For those that are still interested, we're still gonna have plenty of properties to sell, so, don't give up. All right. What do we have next, guys? Number 2, next is a consideration of an ordinance amendment to ordinance number 3220. An ordinance creating the Sunrise West Planned Unit Development PUD Overlay District by making changes to Section 4 land use requirements.
This is a amendment to the existing PUD for the Sunrise development that includes the properties on Messiah, Hiller, and north up to Gilbert there. They're looking to continue development off of Cambridge Drive, but looking to do it a little bit differently with having the structures on individual lots versus currently all the structures are on a common lot. Part of that's due to the taxes, how they're taxed. With multiple structures on one lot, could be taxed as commercial for anything new versus having one duplex on one lot would retain the residential taxes for the property. So the amendments are primarily to spell out what the setbacks and lot areas would be for these new lots. Looking at 5 lots there off of Cambridge Drive, just to the west of the existing homes that are on Messiah Drive. This really won't look any different as it's developed from what's out there now, but they will be on their own individual lots. So the changes are in Section 4, 2A. This one being just for the whole area, that the entire area is considered R2 single-family transitional. That allows for single-family, two-family dwellings in this area. But then lots 1 through 5 of the 5th edition, which are shown on the map here, shall require 25-foot rear yard setback, except that 15-foot wide porch addition for each unit shall be allowed to project 14 feet into the required rear setback area. Many of the structures have porches or pads that allow for porches off the back of the structures, and that would allow for that. And then the second change in number B is lots within the 5th edition to Sunrise West subdivision shall be allowed to be no less than 98 feet in width. These are slightly narrower than our typical or minimum lot size of 100, so we put that in the PUD as well. If this is approved, we anticipate bringing the preliminary plat forward for consideration of approval as well at the upcoming meeting.
Questions or concerns from the audience? I see none. Council?
No questions or concerns here?
Let's do it.
Your Honor, I have a motion to close.
Second?
Moved in second. Kathleen?
Graham Murray,
Aye.
McCampbell,
Aye.
Rinker,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
Your Honor, I have a motion for preliminary adoption of the first reading of an ordinance amendment to ordinance number 3220, an ordinance creating the Sunrise West Planned Unit Development PUD Overlay District by making changes to Section 4 land use requirements.
Second.
Kathleen?
Graham Murray,
Aye.
McCampbell,
Aye.
Rinker,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
Okay. Number 3 is the consideration of an ordinance amending various sections of Chapter 161 Housing Code of the City of Burlington Municipal Code. Mr. Tisland?
We do a regular or annual review of our housing code and other codes to see how they coordinate and comply with how things are developing, making sure that they're up to date. Upon review of our housing code, we have a few recommended amendments being brought forward. Within these, one is a definition of a replacement window. Currently, we do not have what that means exactly. So defining a replacement window as a window that is installed in an existing window opening without the need of altering or reducing the size of the original window opening. So this would reflect or apply primarily to under the Housing Code, Chapter 16107, minimum structure standards, and 9 exits. Under that, it talks about egress windows for where those are required. And the total opening dimension may be achieved with the installation of a replacement double hung window or windows with easily removable sashes. So kind of defining what that replacement window would be within the code. And then under that, again, exits and egress windows, under C, taking out the minimum clear opening of 4 square feet at grade and 5 square feet elsewhere as provided. We've made some changes previously to our code to allow windows that have easily removable sashes that do not require the use of a tool or key to count both that entire opening, but we still want to have that minimum height and width dimension, and making sure we're not putting in windows that are smaller just because you have the ability to. We want to make sure we're having the greatest dimension possible, as well as meeting our minimum code requirements for size openings. 4 square feet for an opening, 2 by 2 is a very small opening, and want to try and avoid that where possible. We realize there's some areas that we try and work with the existing structure, but we don't want to encourage just putting in small windows because it's allowed there. Number 13, electrical requirements. Adding GFCI protected outlets shall be provided in kitchens, bathrooms, or any room where an outlet is within 6 feet of water access. That's just updating this code to reflect the existing electrical code, making sure that's compliant and clear within the housing code. 25, shades, draperies, and window coverings, eliminating the need for non-rooming units or non-furnished dwelling units to have to provide hardware necessary to support shades, draperies, or other devices. A lot of times people are putting in just the minimum, and it's not really useful for the actual tenant because they bring in something different, and it's not really serving a function. It's just something that's put in and maybe ripped out or taken out after we do our inspection, or we don't want to have unnecessary requirements that don't really get used. And then the last one, responsibility of owners related to the maintenance and occupancy of the premise for maintenance of gas appliances and facilities. Currently, it says every gas appliance shall be connected to a gas line with rigid black iron piping, and then adding that or any other gas pipe allowed by city codes. We've flexed our existing city code to allow additional piping materials, and we want to reflect that in our housing code so that we're not more strict with our housing code than other sections of city code.
Tightening it up, friends. Questions or concerns from the audience? I see none. Council?
The only question I had is, somebody had asked me if somebody has a window opening and they can get a stock window that is smaller, slightly smaller, not to the degree that we've talked about, but are they allowed to put that in and then close in or reframe that window opening?
Maybe Larry could talk a little bit more on, our Chief Code Inspector, Larry Caston, could maybe talk a little bit more about the intent of it.
The cost difference between a stock window and a
Custom.
special order window.
LC?
The short answer, no. What we did with the egress window regulations is an actual egress window is 1 sash open. You take the square footage of that section. First floor by building code has to be 5 square feet. Second floor and basement is 5.7 square feet. We relaxed that to the point we will allow a double hung window be put into that opening, and we'll use both sections. We had to define replacement window as not altering the size of that window because stock windows, and I understand what you're saying, a stock window would cost you less, it's close, but we had people shrinking the opening down and putting in a very small window and using both sashes, opening those up and saying, see, I made the amount of space that I needed. So what we intended to do with this was put in a definition for replacement window, and that's what we want to stick with. That was the original size window. If you can make egress with a stock window,
actual egress, which means one sash open, then it's fine. But if we're gonna use both sashes, we want a replacement window that's actually our definition of a replacement.
Okay. So when in doubt, check with the code department.
Questions or concerns? Council, we're good?
Good.
Kathleen?
I need
Motion to
someone
close.
Second?
Kathleen?
Graham Murray,
Aye.
McCampbell, Rinker,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
Your Honor, I have a motion for preliminary adoption of the first reading of an ordinance amending various sections of Chapter 161 Housing Code of the City of Burlington, Iowa Municipal Code.
Second?
Kathleen, let's vote.
Graham Murray,
Aye.
McCampbell,
Aye.
Rinker,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
Okay. Resolutions.
Your Honor, I have a resolution awarding a contract for the 2018 West Burlington and Agency Intersection Traffic Signal Detection.
Second.
Jesse Howe,
Jesse.
City Engineer. Basically, what this resolution in front of you guys is for is the traffic signal detection cameras at the intersection of Agency and West Burlington Avenue. These don't monitor people in any way other than looking how many cars are at each leg of an intersection and moving traffic through more efficiently. So this will allow us to coordinate the intersections of West Burlington Avenue, Plaza West, and Roosevelt, so we can move traffic through that area more efficiently.
Questions or concerns from the audience? Council, do you guys have questions?
Answered my questions in work session.
All right. Kathleen, let's vote.
Graham Murray,
Aye.
McCampbell,
Aye.
Rinker,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
Get her done.
Your Honor, I have a resolution approving the 5-year road plan for the city of Burlington, Iowa.
Second.
Jesse, just stay there. Oh. Yes.
I did prepare a little bit more for you guys this evening. I'll just whip through a few quick slides here, kind of explaining more of the 5-year road plan and how we put it together. So, as we discussed in the work session, every 2 years our staff reevaluates the road plan. It's largely based upon information we get from the Iowa Pavement Management Institute. They take this vehicle here and scan every road in town, and they look at the rideability, cracks, structural deficiencies of the road, and then they boil that all down into a number that's a pavement condition index, which is a PCI number. And every road gets assigned a number from 1 to 100 based on the quality of the road. And primarily we're looking at the more distressed roads in our network. We also gather citizen feedback throughout the year when people call about poor road conditions. We look at that. And you know, we also look heavily at the average traffic totals of each road and how often they're used to make our final decision on which roads make the road plan. So the next slide, this is the condition summary that I was referencing before that we get from our drive data. It gives a summary of all the different roads. The red ones are the lowest. There's a few of them on there, and we'll get into that more on the next slide. This is a graph I think Mr. Rinker had requested, maybe a distribution of where the roads were in relation to one another and their condition. So the ideal graph you want to see on this is what I have in the background there, a bell curve, and we fit that pretty good. In fact, we have a couple on the higher end of that, so that's really where we want it to be. Next slide. This is a quick summary of how many miles of road we have in each general surface type. So in total length of miles, this isn't lane miles, it's just strictly miles of road. We have just under 100 miles of HMA overlay, right around 50 miles of concrete surface, and then just over 6 miles of seal coat. We also have included the cost for repair of each of those. We adjust those yearly depending on how our costs come in on various projects, so. Next slide. This is the actual 5-year road plan. I have the, we might have to squint a little bit to see all the roads on there, but here's the roads that are on there. Get a quick summary of things that have changed. We have added a few streets to this over the previous 5-year road plan, which I'll talk about on the next slide, but we'll leave it here for now. We did get a couple of additional grants. We are extending Broadway Street near the Recplex. You can see out on the far left-hand side of the map. We got a RISE grant for that. That's going to cover 50% of the overall cost of that road. And then in 2021, we have Main Street from the bridge to Angular. That's 100% covered by the Tiger Grant. And then in 2022, we have Jefferson Street from Front Street to Central, which is also 100% covered by the Tiger Grant. We did have to remove a few roads from the previous 5-year road plan due to, you know how I said we adjust costs year to year. We had to adjust the asphalt costs up by, I believe, 10 cents a square foot, which doesn't sound like much, but when you're doing a lot of square foot, it.
And that was because Flint Hills Drive came in more and we took Parkway off, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So,
Was there any other streets that we removed?
I was just getting to the ones, most of them are up on North Hill that came out of the plan.
Okay.
North 7th, North 6th, North 5th, and Oak Street came out of the plan. We are running a little less expensive than what our budget would indicate on the next slide, Eric. Might be a better one to look at. We are 300,000 under budget currently, and if we do get additional grant funding, you know, those would be the first ones in all likelihood to come back onto the plan, so there's a chance that they would be added back into the fold. On the next slide, I have future plans. As I stated, we aggressively go after grant funds every year, the biggest one being the Surface Transportation Block Grant, or STBG funds. Those typically are an 80-20 match, which help out quite a bit in getting more roads on the plan. For this year's project, we're adding an agency from where we stopped over by Hy-Vee to Curran. So you'll be seeing that grant come up for your guys' approval in the next month or so. Another thing we are kind of excited to get into is, I guess, more in-depth pavement planning. That same Iowa Pavement Management Institute, they offer a software that we've started to use that can do a lot of really neat modeling things as far as saying, okay, if we don't spend any money, here's what our road network looks like in 10 years. If we spend X amount or Y amount, or we do asphalt instead of concrete, you can put a lot of different scenarios in like that, and we've been using it a little bit, but we're not in a position to present anything like that right now, but it's something we're gonna get into in the next year, so that should be another useful tool to present some things to you guys and make some big management kind of decisions off of that information. So with that, that's all I had prepared. You guys have any questions for me?
Your slides are great, I appreciate it. You said citizen input has a play in what roads get done. How much input is that allowed in the formula?
Well, typically, we like to prioritize the data that's coming back from the vehicle because it's more impartial as well as the traffic. But if there's a road that's really bad that needs some attention, you know, we will look at replacing that, but a lot of times, some of the ones that come in are such low volume that it doesn't make a lot of sense to replace that road until it's basically failing. So we take it and look at those when they come in and at that 5-year road plan cycle, but a lot of times they don't make it on strictly based on input.
What's prohibiting us from using the software 100%?
Well, I've been getting into it, but I just haven't got enough of the situational stuff in right now, so
Okay.
I'm fairly new on using it.
Okay. Any other questions for Jesse? Any questions from the audience? Should have known Chris was coming down here to start
Yeah.
trouble.
Yeah, trouble.
Man, this guy.
2228 Madison Avenue, and as a disclaimer, that is now 200 feet outside of the Madison Avenue project. I have moved since this summer. Actually moved in October. Still on Madison Avenue, but
You didn't move very far, Chris.
9 blocks. So, and I still own 1306 Madison Avenue, so I still own that one for now. So, again, I speak against one of the years, 2022, on the 5-year plan, which it includes the Madison Avenue project, which removes the on-street parking on Madison Avenue. And I still speak about that. And did all of you read the grant application for that?
Yeah.
Back when it was in our packet.
Okay. Because I thought there was some errors in that grant application too, and those type of things. So I still ask you to reconsider the 2022 year plan of removing the parking on Madison Avenue. I know there's grant money enclosed with that is why you're choosing it. But I think it hurts the property values on Madison Avenue. I'm kind of seeing that right now a little bit and trying to put 1306 on the market. The value's not kind of where we thought it would be after living here. I've owned a house since 1994. So, I mean, it's not like it's not been invested. And the reason for the move wasn't because of the Madison Avenue project. 2228 came up for sale, and we've always thought about having a ranch, and just one thing led to another. So, but again, so I'm asking, to reconsider the 2022 year of removing the parking on Madison Avenue. And I know I'll keep on bringing this up. I'll mention it till the payment's laid. So.
I
I'm
appreciate
curious.
your consistency.
I have a question for you, though. Don't leave the podium.
Oh, yeah, no.
So you mentioned the property values went down. How can they go down if the pavement hasn't been laid yet?
Well, for example, I can give you an example too. With doing some of the research, it happened this May. A house down the block sold. It sold for the figures aren't right in front of me. It sold for $77, I believe, in 2013. In May, it sold for $74.9. So it already has lost value without removal of the parking, and that's what.
Buy-in conditions were a lot different then.
Right,
if you talk
true.
to a real estate
But you don't
agent.
want to add more conditions, too. One thing, too, with bike lanes, this is more of a residential neighborhood. This is not a mixed neighborhood with many bars or places where people ride bikes to go shop. Also, you got to remember, a lot of bike lanes are going to big urban areas. Urban areas, I grew up in the suburb of Chicago. To go from where I live to the north side of town could take you a half hour. Here, it takes you 15 minutes or 10 minutes in Burlington. It could be in Chicago easier in the suburb of Chicago, quicker to ride a bike. Here, by the time you get your bike out, you get going, you're there by driving your car. Burlington just doesn't need you know what I mean? The biking.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Remember, the new term is multi-purpose lanes.
Yeah,
so
multi-purpose
all
lane.
different people.
Also,
can
too,
use them.
you brought up this. There was a lot of things brought up on the street about safety, about side swipes in cars. Putting bike lanes in and saying kids in elementary school can ride them, I don't see how that's any safer. I think that's even more dangerous for the kids. That's in the grant application about being used for drawing school students to ride to work. So I think in the long run, it hurts the property values. There's already stress in property values in Burlington. And so I guess that helped me buy the house I bought.
Yeah, I hear you, and I appreciate your fears, and I think you're gonna find them not to be founded. Because, actually, when I did the research, the property values actually went up 11% with the
Well,
multi-purpose lane, so cross your
But
fingers.
you gotta look at the.
Cross your fingers, hopefully, you know, your fears won't be.
We're getting started.
founded.
You're getting started.
Yeah,
You're
but
getting
look
ramped
at the
up.
areas, look at the areas and that, and are they residential streets? Madison Avenue is mostly a residential street with houses. It's not a mixed business type. It's a residential area more than a business area.
I still like you, we can agree to disagree.
Okay, I do disagree. And then, I mean, the house I bought, the housing market did allow me to buy it.
Yeah.
So-
Very interesting.
So,
All right,
Sorry, we weren't rolling downhill.
that's all right. Anybody else from the audience? I see none. Council? Kathleen?
Graham Murray,
Aye.
McCampbell,
Aye.
Rinker,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
Number 3.
Your Honor, I have a resolution approving the purchase of a used 2012 JCB all-terrain forklift for Public Works Department.
I need a second.
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 Thank you.
I'm Chris Clements, Operations Manager for Public Works. In the 2019 capital improvement budget, the Public Works allocated $70,000 for a telehandler. It was to use on the new flood wall, the aluminum inserts and stuff when we go down to put them up. Once they were put up and we took them down and we put them back up once again, we realized the telehandler isn't exactly what we need. When we went to Davenport, that's what they used. They had a little more room, a little more flatter ground than we have. So we've determined that probably a better fit for our workplace and our work areas would be a all-terrain forklift. And we've decided to go with used because we don't necessarily put enough hours on it to justify a new one. Along with that, it's not part of this resolution, but we will try to bring 2 6-inch pumps forward in the future for approval, and hopefully we're still gonna stay under the $70,000 allocated. But the resolution tonight is just for the 2012 JCB all-terrain forklift.
Okay. Concerns from the audience? I see none. Council, any other questions for Chris? Thank you, CC. Kathleen, let's vote.
Graham Murray,
Aye.
McCampbell,
Aye.
Rinker,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
Number 4.
Your Honor, I have a resolution approving the final acceptance, final payment, and release of retention monies for the 2017 Vineyard Street Area Drainage Project.
Second.
Moved in second. Jesse?
Yeah, so, the Vineyard Street Drainage Project was brought to us via, citizen feedback again. We did do quite a bit of ditching there and put some storm structures in. Everything's been seeded and finish graded, and, we've gone through the punch list and corrected everything as needed, so we're ready to close it out.
Questions or concerns from the audience? I see none. Council?
Good.
Kathleen?
Graham Murray,
Aye.
McCampbell,
Aye.
Rinker,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
All right. Resolutions, number 3, resolution approving annual financial report. Mr. Ripke?
I need a second.
Second.
Sorry.
Were you introducing that?
Yeah, I did. Thank you.
Second.
I'm not sure if this is the right one or, okay. Was this a
I don't think it probably is. Your question has to do with
What's
TIF.
number 4?
TIF?
So you're probably fine with this. This is the annual report for just overall expenditures and
okay.
revenue from last year.
All right,
Number 4 will be the one that you want to have a discussion on. So
okay.
this question is going to be on the next item. not on
Sorry,
this one.
I apologize.
That's all right. Okay, so we're good on number 3. We'll just go to number 4.
We need to.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, we better.
Move to approve resolution number 3, approving the annual financial report.
Second.
Both of you. Kathleen?
Graham Murray,
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Rinker.
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
Okay. Number 4 is a resolution approving annual urban renewal report.
This has to do with the TIF expenditures for the fiscal year 17-18.
Yeah, and all the question I
First, we
had
need
was,
someone to introduce and second.
oh, I'm sorry.
That was my introduction. I'll read it again.
Second.
Okay.
I apologize. Chris Repke, 2228 Madison. The question I had is, how much of TIF, how much does it cost a taxpayer? For example, let's just use if your house is valued, taxed at $50,000, and it's $1, that's $50 a year. It would be nice to know if there was a report or way to figure out how much does TIF cost the property owner in taxes.
Problem with trying to come up with that number is determining whether or not a project would be done with or without the assistance.
Okay, but I mean, it is an important thing on TIF because it
Can you
does
give 'em
cost.
a-
Yes.
It does cost the taxpayers for TIF projects. I mean, for example, 1306 Madison, 2228 Madison pays for a new pavement in Sunrise, or one of those new developments off of West Avenue that you gave TIF for. So I mean, that does have a play. It'd just be interesting to know what the tax liability is on TIF for homeowners, for property owners. That was my comment on that. I looked at the report and did not find that in there, so, thank you.
It's, as you're mentioning, it's kind of hard to track, but one thing you can do an evaluation on, TIF revenue that we receive annually, and it's listed on the front page of the TIF report. The TIF revenue in fiscal year 18 was $2,471,000. If it wasn't being captured in the TIF area and used for TIF projects funded by TIF, those would be released to the underlying districts. For the city of Burlington proper, it would mean that there would be enough valuation to have about $750,000 of additional property tax dollars at the same levy that we currently have, that would be available for whatever general purpose that you were wanting to do. So you could look at that and say that we have made a decision that has an impact that, what's $750,000 equivalent of? About $1 tax levy. So you could say that we're doing the equivalent of about $1 tax levy to do the TIF projects that we have on the books. If we weren't using TIF at all, and we were doing the same other projects that we were doing that are not funded by TIF, it would mean that we could have about $1 lower levy. However, that would also mean that you would have, like the roundabout wouldn't have been done, the Agency Street improvements wouldn't have been done. If you were saying that Agency Street needed to be widened, or to do a project such as that, or the Mount Pleasant Street Bridge, which we haven't, which will be on, is a TIF project and will be on the report in the future. The only way that you could do those projects would either be to push out the annual overlay projects that we do. Well, that would be the most likely alternative. And it's just sort of these are some of those decisions that you have to make as a group to figure out what's the appropriate use of our property taxes in the community. How do we make sure that we keep our infrastructure improved? How do we make sure that we grow the community as a whole long term? But so the point that you're getting at is you could not do any TIF and your property tax askings would be $1 lower, but none of the projects would have occurred that were done with TIF. You have to think through what's the pros and cons of that. That's your decision as a group to make.
But I think it's also difficult, like I said, to answer it because we don't know what part of those projects wouldn't have been completed without it. And the other thing I just want to make clear is, so if we TIF a project, we don't take tax revenue from another property that a person pays and apply it to that project. The money that the property owner pays from the increment on the TIFed project goes back to the developer for that project. So we don't take, if you pay your taxes, we don't take your taxes and give it to a developer. It's only through the increment that the developer creates that they get reimbursed through the TIF.
Yeah, I think in the long run, there is a transfer. I think
can I have you come to the,
Oh, I'm sorry. It sounds like, I think TIF is one of those magical things. That's kind of hard to understand. But it almost sounds, I mean, if you do, if you said, lower a levy $1 in general, it does, that's on everybody. That's just not on the TIF people, that's on everybody. And I understand the infrastructure projects, but sometimes it'd be better just to be forward with it and say, hey, this is what we gotta have for taxes to pay for these projects, rather than trying to hide it in TIF. The more you hide things, the more you kinda get in trouble. You know what I mean? It's
I know what you mean, I just don't, when you
I
say
know,
hide it,
I know.
because that's not.
I
that's not
like,
the point.
things,
We have
it's,
hearings
it's,
for everything that we do.
Yeah.
Hiding sounds sneaky, and we're not
I
trying
know
to
you're
be
not saying-
sneaky
see,
about
But I understand where you're
it.
coming
It's
but
just-
see,
it's a
it's-
difficult formula.
You're right, and it's not necessarily, you have to be, it's not saying the council's being sneaky, it's kinda, people set things up that don't, you didn't set up TIF, somebody else set up TIF.
No, but
And you get
I understand what you're saying, it's just
It-
whether it
it's-
be hard line, know where it's coming from.
Right, it's better to have that, rather than where is it coming from, and then that way taxpayers can have a more type of thing. Because, as I can say, buying 2228, my taxes have really jumped.
We appreciate you, sir. Any other questions from the audience? Council, are we satisfied?
Yes.
Good. Kathleen?
Graham Murray,
Aye.
McCampbell,
Aye.
Rinker,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
Number 10 is a resolution approving sub-license agreement between the City of Burlington, Zico Systems, Inc., and Huckleberry Hotel LLC for the use of the Renewable Energy Committee rate-only access to the PUG and electric vehicle charging station data derived from Huckleberry's use of the licensed software at their location in Burlington, Iowa. Can I get a second?
Second.
Mr. Ripke?
Real quick question. I read everything. I've been reading everything. 2228 Madison Avenue, sorry. It said we follow in their California law, not Iowa law. Iowa was scratched out and California was put in. My question is, why California law? I don't live in California.
It's the company that we're asking for their data. They are located in California and they want it to be by theirs. They don't need to give us this data. This is, the sole purpose of this agreement is, the Renewable Energy Commission had, a couple of years back, had applied to Alliant Energy for funding to put in some electric charger stations. They did the match for the ones that are down at the city parking lot, just east of here. Hy-Vee I think it was Hy-Vee that did the match on the ones that are located out Hy-Vee, and then Huckleberry did the match on the one located out there at the, doggone it, Fun City. With that, we don't have any money in the deal that is in the charging station out at Fun City, but we are the pass-through on the Alliant funding for it. Our Renewable Energy Committee wanted to get the data off of the software from those charging stations. They're not a party to the agreement, but the company is willing to share that data, and it's through this agreement that they're willing to do it. Would it be preferable, and even our city attorney said it would be preferable that it was Iowa for where the notice was done, but in the long and short, all we're asking to do is to read the data, and they don't need to let us do it. And if we make it too much of a hassle, they're just not gonna allow it. And so our odds of having an issue, I mean, there is the potential to have an issue, but really if there was a violation of the agreement, all we're losing is the ability to read data.
So there's no coming back on California law with financial penalties or anything?
No.
Okay. That's what I was just wondering, because I saw California law, and it's like, that's different.
Way to pay attention to detail, my friend. Anybody else from the audience with questions or concerns? Council?
Oh, are you ending the meeting?
No, just on this one.
Okay, Kathleen?
Graham Murray,
Aye.
McCampbell,
Aye.
Rinker,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
Okay, now we're into the meeting, my friend. This is time where we will entertain comments from the audience. Is there any comments from the audience?
My name is Dean Fennessy. I'm Brentorium. I live in Northern Drive. Basically, about a couple things. TIF, I think we better look more closely to it because I hope I get the factory name right. Siemens was built 5 or 10 years out there on the business park, and now they're closing up. And I wonder, is it really worth doing that? Like, you want a company come to your city if they're only gonna be here for 5 or 10 years? Because I know the world has changed. That used to be companies come in here, they're willing to pay taxes and infrastructure to do that. And they stay here for 20 to 50 to 60 years. But I think we spend this money like TIF going like this, and I think we gotta be more careful and think, are they really gonna be here for a long, long, long time? And I just think it'd be best, like, I do agree for infrastructure, but for housing and other things, I don't think they should pay, they have to pay taxes and the factories. Number 2 is that I think the people in the city did a good job on the streets. What they did on, I can't name them all, Roosevelt Agency, where Hy-Vee is, going to Walmart, that area, going past Just Stop, that's what we can describe them. But the people in the work that does the streets, they deserve our applause. They did a great job. Thank goodness all the barriers are down. I hope real soon you put lights up at Hy-Vee and get that little patch of sidewalk done. And I just think that they did a great job, and you all do a great job here. I want to wish all of you, oh yes, Taman Building, I think it'd be a good idea just to get rid of all that, excuse the language, junk, and just tear it down and maybe put a nice, I don't live down here, but a nice, decent store where people can go in, like a little tiny grocery store down there, because you've been apartments down there now. In the future, you're going to have to do something about parking down there. I mean, I see those 2 ramps down there, and I could be wrong, but I see most time they're empty. I mean, they're empty. And, but I think that'd be a good thing for looking in the future. And one more thing.
Cascade Bridge.
Cascade Bridge, yes. I think we should have a telethon and ask people to give money to it. I can give maybe $5 or $10. That's it.
Darn, I think you say 5 or 10 million. Rats.
I can't. I don't have that. I'm not Weingart
If you
or
can
Donald Trump.
get David to do it, then
Yeah, we pledged, somebody else in KBR pledged to do that. Maybe get a can at City Hall for that, saying Cascade Bridge or a bank account. But I still think it would be not, I know you don't have the money to spend on it, I know it's expensive, but I think it would be nice to have a bridge that goes in that park, because that park is a beautiful park, and it would be nice to able to go in there, and it's just a nice park. But one more thing, I want to wish all of you and the audience, happy Thanksgiving. Don't eat too much, don't get too wild. Happy gobble gobble, and may the Lord Jesus Christ give you wisdom and guidance in all your decisions, whatever you do. And we should be thankful because we people able to vote.
Yes.
In most countries, people not able to do that. So peace be with you all.
Awesome.
Always a pleasure, my
Thanks, Steve.
friend.
Happy
Always a
Thanksgiving to
pleasure.
you as well.
Yes.
And I'm gonna tell you, somebody said that to me the other day. They said, what about Cascade Bridge? I said, I don't got it, but I can put something down on it. You know, I think if we all did, maybe we'd have something. Chris?
Yeah, it's all right. I've been ever since last December, I read all the meeting agenda what's coming up, so. And I saw that up for council discussion at the work session was the land swap with Burlington Northern Railroad, downtown, and the old Dresser Rand site, or brewery site. On the surface, I have no issue with that. I think that might be good if it works out for the city. The one thing that caught my attention in that report was the $500,000 for parking lot with the swap. If you do that, that's in a short time, $1 million for parking lot. $500,000 to the new Recplex bubble, another $500,000 to this. You're talking $1 million in parking lot. The older neighborhoods need that $1 million rather than the Recplex bubble and the parking downtown. So when you come to that discussion more, please consider that. I think on the surface, the swap looks good. You might just have to wait with that land, spend some money if you have to just fix it up so it looks decent. But in the long run, you know, $500,000 for parking, I think there's city neighborhoods need that more than parking lots downtown. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Anybody else from the audience? You guys have been fantastic tonight. What a great group. Mr. Tisdale, I'm sorry, Mr. Tislin.
Just a brief update on the Tama building. We did receive notice from Doug Wells this afternoon that they have decided to remove the building. So they're gonna demolish the existing building there. I did speak with him as well. He has a meeting with Iowa Economic Development Authority in Des Moines next week to go over plans and ideas, the timing for redevelopment, option and use of funds. They still have a large grant through IEDA, so trying to work with them. He will be at the December 10th council work session to give an update. He is coordinating with some downtown businesses and owners to discuss preliminary design ideas. He's had some conversations with some of them and going to be reaching out to those that have contacted him in the past, some of those that have been here at council meetings to be involved in this process. And he hoped to have that meeting prior to the update to the council on the 10th of December. So maybe he can update where he's at on that there.
Yeah, I will say, Eric, I had a couple of those business people reached out to me before the meeting, said that he had indeed contacted them. They were very pleased that he was communicating, so.
As far as demolition, he does, as he mentioned at his last update, does have demolition contractor lined up, G&B Construction. He still has a piece of equipment down there. He's waiting on approval of the formal contract to proceed. He has Davis-Bacon wages that apply to this, and so can't just hire someone. He has to go through the process of making sure he meets all the requirements for wages and contracts that need to be submitted with that grant that he previously had. So it is the priority project for that contractor. As I said, does have equipment on site and will move to that site as soon as the contract's finalized, and would begin as soon as that is approved. Would expect within 3 to 5 days after he starts that he will have that main building down and could pull the fence back. So December 19th is still the latest date for moving the fence in, but could expect that sooner if they're able to get everything organized and coordinated.
2 weeks, right? 2 weeks from the time they start, is what he said last week. It would take 2 weeks to have the building down and cleared up.
Yeah, approximately.
Yeah, he thought within 3 to 5 days after getting on site, he could have the just the structure down and fence moved a little bit, so. But again, he'll be here December 10th to give a formal update.
Okay,
where we're
good.
at.
Great.
Is that it? Is your razor on strike?
Yep.
Okay, the rest of the month. Kathleen, anything for the birthday girl?
No, I think.
Well, happy birthday to
Happy
you.
birthday.
We need to sing birthday.
She's 28, so we're really proud of her. Peanut butter.
Happy birthday. Have a blessed Thanksgiving, everybody, and make sure you eat a lot of your favorites. My mother-in-law makes the awesome sweet potato casserole, so I will be inhaling that. Yes, yes. And if you want to burn off some calories before the big feast, there is a run, a little 3-mile walk run in town at the BGC, and I'll get you a turkey. You win a turkey if you can beat Jim, because he's pretty fast.
I'm not gonna be there.
That's a brutal.
Well, then I won't lose the bet.
Jim's out of order, okay. Counselor?
I can't lose the bet then.
The only thing I said at the work session, and I know everybody feels the same way, if you're gonna shop, please shop here. Shop local, big and small. We need the sales tax dollars, obviously, and the employees of those companies would sure appreciate your patronage.
That's right. They're your friends and neighbors. You forgot to mention the gig you went to.
Oh. This was really incredible. Last Saturday night, the Friends of the Depot hosted a 1940s themed party, and it really showcased all their hard work that they've done, the beautiful new curtains. They had a lady singing, reminiscent of 1940s, people dressed up, there were appetizers. One lady had a little maid costume on, was serving it was really something to see. So if you haven't seen the Depot, we've got Christmas trees set up there. It's really beautiful. Go check it out. Get some pictures taken. Bring your family down there. Get some family pictures. It's really nice. Something that Burlington can really be proud of.
All right. Counselor,
I'm good.
you're good?
Yep.
Want to give a shout out to Gary Richards. Want to thank him for the invite. This weekend down at the Capitol, they had a rock and roll show for the veterans, and I got to meet some people from the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Gary is actually, and I'm going to have him come down here, he's actually one of the newest inductees from Burlington into the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame up in Okoboji. So just a lot of talented people in this area. So again, Gary, thanks for letting me come down and be a part of that. Also, I can't read my own writing. Oh, yeah, the chief, you want to come up real quick and let us know how that went, how that worked out up at Dunn Brothers, or not? Okay, he's looking at me like I'm nuts. Yeah, I was talking to the other chief. There's two chiefs back there. Yeah, but they had would you come up? They had at Dunn Brothers this weekend, and this was the first one that they did, and I got a chance to check out some of it. I thought it was pretty cool. You know, give us an
So you're
update.
looking at one person that was not there, so
Okay.
you might know more than I do. We actually did our Thanksgiving on Saturday, so I was out of town, but I've heard from the people that were there, there was a big success. The firefighters really enjoyed being there. Got a lot of smoke detector signups while they were there, so.
There's a young kid there, he had the visor had slid down, I've got a picture taken with him, but he's gonna need a job. He's had a T-shirt even that said, future firefighter, so I don't know what his name is, I can't remember, I'm gonna find out. He'll be applying here sometime soon, so.
And tell people the number they need to call if they don't have working smoke detectors in their home.
Sure, 753-8390.
Okay, thank you, because I learned that November through March, February is the highest prime time for home fires. I didn't know that. So, and cooking, and we do lots of cooking, and yeah, so, thank you.
So, welcome.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Counselor?
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I will not be here next week. We're shooting across the pond again for a week for a wedding. And then I just wanted to remind everybody, I know we've had one light snow and one kind of 1 or 2 inch snow, but cars on snow routes need to be removed, cars and trailers. That way city employees could do their jobs to get the streets cleared off. So I noticed that the other day there were still quite a few of them out there. Outside of that, that's it.
James? That's enough, you're out of order, Jim.
How much snow is it before the snow route kicks in? 2 inches. So I don't even know that it would have kicked in this last weekend.
No.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I did
Rhonda,
not.
would you like to
No,
come
I
up?
didn't. I give you my word.
Yeah, thank you. The Community Thanksgiving Dinner is coming up, so I wanted to
Yes.
say a word about that, or two. And actually Lois Blythe, when she was here earlier and mentioned serving in the community, she has been on that committee since the beginning, and I probably should have given her a nudge to talk about that in hers. I did look, they have a Facebook page, and so you can follow on there and see what they need. They just this afternoon posted that they only have 80 of the 200 turkeys that they need. And tomorrow is the last day to donate turkeys. You can do that by going to the Hy-Vee on agency. They also take monetary donations, which you can send to Community Action, or make the check out to Community Action, drop it off at the library, and Lois will make sure they get it. So they have some needs like that. They also are needing volunteers, and Lois mentioned this afternoon that on Wednesday they have to take the meat off of all of the turkeys in the afternoon. They need some more helpers for that. If anyone wants to volunteer for it, they can call the library or go to our website, and there's a link there. You can go on and volunteer for a lot. There's other opportunities as well if you don't want to tear apart turkeys. And then you also can obviously come to the events. 11:30 on Thanksgiving is when it starts, 11:30 to 2. But they offer other options as well. You can call and get transportation provided to the event. You can stop in and pick up a to-go meal. You can call and ask them to deliver a meal to you. So there's a lot of different options, and they serve a lot of people in the community on Thanksgiving. It's a great way to get together. If you don't have family to get together with, you can come and eat with others in the community, or if you just need that meal, they can help provide you with that too. So anyone has any questions, just give us a call at the library, and we'll be happy to answer any of those. So.
Okay.
We're running a little bit short, so just want to send this out there, a challenge. We need 120 plus turkeys by tomorrow, and I'll be buying one. I only need about 119 other people to buy one with me, and problem solved, so.
Thank you.
James?
Just to let you know, Green Bay Levee District, they are doing some improvements to their levee. And they've submitted all that through the Corps along with the studies on the potential impact. The Corps is okay with what they're doing, but there is a public comment period out there through November 30th. Looking at what the potential impact is on the Burlington area specifically, from the current conditions to what they're looking to raise their levee to, the protection that they have would have about a 0.2 to 0.3 feet potential impact on a 500-year flood. So if you have a 500-year flood, it would have about the river level here in Burlington downtown would be 0.2 to 0.3 feet higher than what it otherwise would be without doing any improvements. For us, the biggest potential impact is really in comparison to what our flood wall is. Our flood wall has 2.6 feet of freeboard above the 500-year flood level, so it doesn't get to, it's not the kind of an impact that it causes any potential concerns in and of itself. And that's part of what the Corps is looking at, is what do they see for are there major impacts on any other areas? But that is out there, and if you take a look, if there's any comments that people have on that, you do have through November 30th to do it on. From a city perspective, I don't see a reason to be putting a comment out there. But that's all I had.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, I'll take a motion.
Move to close.
Second.
Moved in second. Kathleen?
Graham Murray,
Aye.
McCampbell,
Aye.
Rinker,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
This meeting's adjourned.
Thank
Good night,
you, folks.
everybody. Oh, good meeting, counselors.